I'm Bill Thomas, Chief Member Operations Officer for UNFCU. Welcome back, and thanks again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed answering some of the poll questions we asked earlier before the presentation started. We're going to look at some of those results in a bit. But first, since we're going to talk about financial well-being, I thought it made sense to define it. What's the first thing you think of when you hear financial well-being? Many people might think it means what your salary is, or how much you have saved, or whether you have investments, or how much you know about the stock market. But I suggest that any of those things taken individually don't necessarily translate to financial well-being. While preparing for this presentation, I discovered that there are a lot of definitions for financial well-being, and most have similar themes. I came across one that I really liked, so I'm going to recommend we use this as a definition as a baseline for the rest of this talk. It comes from consultancy Ernst & Young in a 2020 report, and in that report, financial well-being was defined as the ability to make confident, well-informed, money-related decisions resulting in financial security for both the short and the long term. And I like that because it focuses on confidence, knowledge, and security. Those are things that can be scaled regardless of your salary or savings balance. The one thing I would add to make it more complete is the phrase that allow one to enjoy life, because I think that's an important dimension to include. Based on our poll, 89% of you said that the statement, "I can enjoy life because of the way I manage my money," completely or very well describes you. That's a great number, but maybe by the end of the session, we'll get to 100%. So anyway, the full definition we'll use is this. Financial well-being is the ability to make confident, well-informed money-related decisions resulting in financial security for both the short and long term that allow one to enjoy life. So, does everyone have that memorized? Great. If we're all in agreement, we're going to use that definition and start discovering some of the benefits of financial well-being. Are you ready to hear about these awesome benefits? Yeah? Well, okay, but before we do that, we're going to take a look at the flip side. Let's call that financial stress. What are some characteristics you might associate with financial stress? Financial stress can have a significant effect on us, and I'm going to review several of those impacts. The first is physical health. Ernst & Young research published this past November found that 20% of adults say they would consider skipping a doctor's appointment due to money worries. And a 2014 study by Wells Fargo found 39% of Americans felt that money was the biggest stress in their lives. The second impact is mental health. Money worries are real. In that same Ernst & Young report, the authors referenced a UK bank study that said 63% of adults admitted money issues negatively impacted the mental health of someone they know. A third impact is productivity. In that same Ernst & Young research, 30% of employees say they think about personal finances while on the job, and 83% of HR professionals say that this concern negatively impacts performance at work. In fact, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in a 2014 report stated that financial distress reduces productivity, increases absenteeism, and undermines employees' health. Finally, let's consider social engagement. A Gallup survey in the U.S. showed 87% of people who felt their financial well-being was thriving agreed that their relationships with their spouse or partner was stronger than ever. But that figure dropped to only 61% for those who felt their financial well-being was suffering. Where would you like to be? Thriving or suffering? Thriving, I think. To wrap up, in addition to looking at the benefits of financial well-being, it's important to understand symptoms related to financial stress so we can learn how to reduce or avoid those impacts, and then get to the benefits of financial well-being. I'd like to give you a quick view on what we're going to cover for the rest of this particular session, along with some previews or some post views of other sessions in the Financial Fair. Full disclosure, after hearing me speak for 15 or 20 minutes, it's not my expectation that we've created a legion of experts ready to take on all financial challenges. Rather, the objectives of this session are to help you get a sense of the following: obstacles to achieving financial well-being and how you can overcome them, basic steps you can take to improve your financial well-being, and finally, the benefits you can gain by improving your sense of financial well-being. More broadly, the objective of this entire financial fair is to provide you information, tools, and great resources, which you've been hearing all morning, to help achieve those benefits. So I hope you're able to stick around for all of the sessions on both days. Let's first tackle some obstacles to achieving financial well-being. It's something we want. I think we all agree it's good, and there are numerous benefits to focusing on financial well-being. So we should just do it all the time. Easy, right? Maybe not. Why not? A big reason is that we don't talk about it enough. Why do you think so many people are afraid to talk about money? Well, money creates complex feelings with regard to pride, jealousy, self-esteem, anxiety, and stress. So it isn't surprising that we don't always want to talk about money. Think of your own situation over the years. Can you think of any personal horror story about money? I won't ask anyone to share personal details. And I won't share mine, but I will say it had something to do with an investment in Pets.com, if anyone recalls the internet bubble from about 20 years ago. If you can imagine a time like that when your financial well-being was suffering, is that something you talk about frequently? Do you enjoy sharing it, or does it make you feel uncomfortable? I think we can agree that discussing finances is important. After all, you're attending a financial fair, so that's exactly why we're here today. But it's not always easy. Here are some reasons why. The first is we've been trained that it's not polite to talk about money. There's a bit of a social taboo about it. I would not be surprised if there are some folks out there who didn't have regular, meaningful conversations about money with their families. There may be some who are still reluctant to talk about it with their partners. According to data from Fidelity Investments, 43% of Americans don't know how much their spouse makes. That's nearly half. Is that number surprising? We did pretty well in our poll because in the survey we took, only 31% of you didn't know that figure. So that's good. Second, it can be intimidating to talk about money. Imagine you hear someone talking about new tax laws or derivatives or long-term care insurance. You may have some familiarity with aspects of those topics, but it's tough to be knowledgeable about so many things. When you hear about things like that, it can be confusing and even scary. So you might be like me and just nod and smile when someone starts talking about those. A 2014 survey by Wells Fargo revealed that 44% of the population thought money was the hardest topic to talk about, more so than death, religion, taxes, or politics. So you're not alone if you feel like talking about money-related matters is daunting. Based on our poll, the most challenging topic to discuss was money at 40%, followed by death at 33%. So you see, it's common for everyone. The third thing is there's not an organized system to have discussions about money. Think about when you went to school. It's pretty likely you'd have English, science, math, social studies, but financial planning wasn't always a focus. So if you're not learning about it at school and it's not talked about at home, where does this learning take place? The final point I'd like to make is about the social effects of this code of silence, particularly for women. In a 2018 survey of 1,000 parents by the website giftcards.com, it was discovered that parents talk to their sons and daughters differently about certain aspects of finances, such as savings, credit, and taxes. Also, on average, for families that gave allowances, daughters received less allowance and less in payments for chores. One of the UN Sustainable Development Goals is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. But that will only happen in an environment where we can talk openly about financial matters. In the 2015 study by Fidelity Investments, 80% of women said that they'd refrain from talking about money with those they are close to. That difficulty in having meaningful conversations has led to many problems, such as disparities in earnings for women. According to data from UN Women, globally, women earn 77% of what men do. The point here is that there is a real economic cost to not talking about money. In order to overcome those obstacles, it's important to be open to talking about finances. That helps bring transparency and lets everyone operate with the same base of information. When we can conquer our uneasiness, we can help remove some of the societal, cultural, and institutional obstacles that prevent us from thriving with our financial well-being. And I think that's what we want to do. But what else can we do? Well, talking about it, learning about it, and removing some of the barriers is a great first step. But financial education alone doesn't equal financial well-being. No, in addition to starting the dialogue, our values, beliefs, and behaviors drive us to financial well-being. I'm going to review 3 fundamentals that can help you on your journey. The first is understanding your own budget and how you are spending your money. The second is establishing personal goals and understanding the behaviors that will allow you to achieve those goals. And the third is having in place strategies that will help lessen your worry about money. So we talked about understanding your budget, establishing personal goals, and then having in place strategies that will help lessen your worry about money. Now, I'm not going to say much about understanding your budget or setting goals because my colleague Angelo has a terrific session following this on navigating life's milestones, which will give you more details. But I want to reinforce budgeting and goals are 2 key fundamentals, so that's important. Another aspect of goals I'd just like to mention is to make sure you know your own financial values. Be clear about what's important to you and look at your spending, income, and other things through that lens. Perhaps you feel really strongly about affordable and clean energy, which is another sustainable development goal. Your values along those lines can help you determine your goals. Maybe investing something that supports environmental and social initiatives, such as UNFCU's Impact Share Certificate, or seeking a loan for a green vehicle. But the first step is understanding your values so you can plan effectively, and I didn't want to miss out on that important part. Financial well-being is very personal, and yours is unique to you. Amanda Clayman, who's a financial wellness clinician, says something I think is brilliant in its simplicity. She says, everyone in the world has either more money or less money than you. And that simple statement can help liberate you from trying to disown your financial truth. Don't worry about someone else's financial truth. Focus on your own, because that's what you control. No matter where you are in your financial journey, you can set goals that are appropriate for you, and you can start working on the financial behaviors that will help you achieve them. The third fundamental that I did want to talk about is having in place strategies that will help lessen your worry about money. Although we said knowledge or education alone doesn't equal financial well-being, improving one's level of financial education is essential to overcoming the insecurity associated with talking about money. And there are lots of ways to do this. You can take a class, or check out learning content on LinkedIn, view TED Talks on YouTube. There are a lot of great resources out there to get familiar with some things that you might want to learn more about. Another thing you can do is have family meetings about money to discuss your finances. Get things out in the open. Sharing your values, asking questions, and setting goals are all excellent discussion topics. You heard earlier about how to protect your financial identity, and Angelo is even going to give you some more information about reviewing your credit report and learning how to understand your credit score. And the information that Jim Iovino gave earlier in his talk is another way to really help you feel comfortable about money. And a final strategy is to consider your financial health like your physical health. Schedule regular checkups to review where you are. According to the poll we took earlier, 76% of you agreed at least somewhat with the statement that said, I give my financial well-being at least as much focus as my physical well-being. That's a great number, so I think we have an audience that really understands the benefits of financial well-being. So in 5 minutes there, I laid out a lot of steps, some big, some small, that you can take right away to improve your financial well-being. You may come away thinking, that's it? Write down my income and compare to my expenses? Talk to my family? Thanks a lot, Bill. And if you feel that way, I'm actually kind of glad, because you know what? It's okay for money management to be a little mundane. It doesn't have to be thrilling or exciting all the time, but that also means it doesn't have to be anxiety-producing. Let's recap what we've covered so far. We identified the characteristics of financial stress we want to avoid. We discussed some reasons why we don't talk about financial well-being and introduced some strategies to overcome those. And we've reviewed some basic steps you can take on your journey to financial well-being. So now comes the most important part. You may think, I've done all these things, now what do I win? And that's a great question. And I'm excited to finally talk about what benefits you can gain by having a sense of financial well-being. The first is peace of mind. Peace of mind can be defined as a mental state of calmness or tranquility, a freedom from worry and anxiety. If you understand your finances, know your financial truth, and have defined your goals, peace of mind is a natural outcome. The second thing is empowerment. Empowerment is the authority or power given to someone to do something. By taking steps I've mentioned, and that we'll be discussing throughout the financial fair, you will be granting yourself authority to manage and direct your financial well-being. Third is control. Under normal circumstances, we recognize and accept there are certain things we can manage and control and other things we cannot. Is that a reasonable statement? I know during the past year, it seems that the number of things we can't control has grown. So by taking back control for things over which we do have power, we can help rebalance the scales. A fourth benefit is confidence. Having discussions, learning, watching your progress, and achieving goals can inspire confidence in yourself. What's more, it can help others recognize that confidence too. The last one is breaking the cycle. We talked a bit about the societal, cultural, and institutional obstacles that can help repress our financial well-being. So by recognizing those and overcoming them, you're not only breaking the cycle for yourself, but also helping others towards realizing the benefits of financial well-being. Are those benefits you think you'd enjoy? Peace of mind, being empowered, feeling competent? I hope you're all saying yes. So, as we said earlier, financial well-being is defined as the ability to make confident, well-informed, money-related decisions resulting in financial security for both the short and long term that allow one to enjoy life. I hope over the past 15 minutes or so, I've given you things to consider, some potential action items, or maybe just validation of some of the behaviors you already demonstrate. But before we move on to the next speaker, I want to challenge everyone who's listening and watching to do this. At the end of this financial fair, whether you're here for all sessions both days or just able to drop in now and then, I'd like you to take a piece of paper or open up a spreadsheet, that's my favorite, or even use the Notes app on your phone to write down 3 things you think you can do in the next 7 days to help improve your financial well-being. And after you make that short list, I'd also like you to jot down a couple of words to describe your feelings at the time. It doesn't have to be a major undertaking, and you can probably do it in 5 or 10 minutes. For example, maybe you want to track your purchases on Amazon for the past 3 months to understand how much you've been spending on those boxes that somehow mysteriously appear every day. Maybe it's scheduling an appointment with one of our mortgage representatives to discuss a home purchase or a refinance. Perhaps it's having a family meeting to sit down and share and discuss your financial values. It can be anything. The important thing is that you write it down. Then put a reminder on your calendar for next Tuesday. And then look at the 3 things you wanted to accomplish. Did you do all of them? Some of them? Look at the words you used to describe your feelings when you wrote them down, and then write down some words to describe how you feel after accomplishing some or all of your activities. And I have a feeling you will find you've started to discover some of the benefits of financial well-being. We're approaching the end of my session, and what I've just challenged you to do may sound like a lot, and I'll agree it might not be easy, but it's not impossible. The fact that you're here today gives me confidence that you can do it, and I believe UNFCU can help provide you with information, tools, and resources to help you thrive and enjoy the benefits of financial well-being. Wrapping up, I want to leave you with one of my favorite sayings. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So, whether you're well along your journey to financial well-being or just starting out, now is the perfect time to take action. I want to thank you for joining me. I'm excited about all the great information we get to share with you today and tomorrow.